Hello, everyone. Welcome to LA Social Science, the e-forum designed by the Division of Social Sciences here at UCLA to create opportunities to engage all of us in conversation. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Hunter, Dr. Marcus Hunter, and Christian Green. Both will be involved in a racial day of reckoning this weekend to really kind of be a part of a nationwide observation of Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy. Dr. Hunter, Mr. Green, thank you all so much for allowing us to take some of your time up today.
And so glad that you've created some time for us to have this important conversation.
Happy New Year, Brother Noble. Really grateful for this opportunity and looking forward to a great 2022.
So, tell us about this fourth annual National Day of Racial Healing. This is the fourth annual, so this has been going on for a little bit. And, give us a little bit more information about this.
So for a very long time, as many people probably know, there's been an issue around race relations and systemic racism in America. And with the leadership of Dr. Gail Christopher, when she was vice president over at the Kellogg Foundation, they helped spearhead a series of initiatives. One of them was about studying truth and reconciliation in the 40 plus countries that have already done that work to try to learn the lessons, strengths and weaknesses so that one could be enacted or that process could be enacted in America, learning from mistakes made, lessons learned, and also to create an opportunity that pairs with MLK's birthday and the day of remembrance and service that we enact on that day, to pair that with a day of national healing, racial healing in particular. And so the idea is that you have MLK Day paired with a day of national racial healing that helps promote inclusion, social wellness, mental wellness, and also helps us properly acknowledge the harms of the past so that we might transmute them and live in a more inclusive, positive future.
Thank you for that. And, I know that you've both been working on national and local initiatives as it relates to the political space. Can you all talk a little bit about some of the things you've been doing?
I'll let Christian start first because I often tell folks that we have a national movement going with over 300 organizations in the truth, racial healing, and transformation space. And so many of those came by virtue of Christian really lighting up California. So he, in our group, is our California expert. Born and raised out in these California streets, he has really helped bring awareness and attention to Barbara Lee's efforts in particular. So I want him to start first there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Hunter. I know that we have been just really hitting the streets, hitting different emails and Zooms and different conversations with elected officials all across statewide for California. We were blessed to get endorsed by the California Democratic Party. We've been endorsed by various Congress folks alongside that live in California. I believe all of them endorsed USTRHT. So we had a strong team that was calling them every day, trying to make sure that they were signing on. And so that has been a blessing. We had young folks, young adults, college students, some of our, I call them the wise folks, our older folks, our older generation, that were really on the phones, just really doing the legwork. And so I know out here in Lancaster, Palmdale, we're specifically working on accountability with the sheriffs. It's called Cancel the Contract, Antelope Valley. Looking how do we heal the relationships between sheriffs and Black folks, Latinos and Black folks even too. So it's a couple of dynamics that we're looking at on all these different local levels, and even trying to enact healing circles and USTRHT circles so that people understand that we do not live in a colorblind society and that it's okay for us to talk about race. It is okay for us to talk about healing. And what does that really look like? And so Dr. Hunter, Dr. Christopher, and all the team has afforded us this framework to really go by. And so I feel like the 18th is going to be a huge day for us to really look at the idea of healing.
And healing in this moment feels somewhat hard to attach or attain. And with some of the rollbacks of the civil rights era that we're watching happening, can you all talk about how you're feeling about that and some of the things that you might be doing to really kind of address some of that?
I really appreciate that question. And there is a speech that I often think a lot about that's from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King in 1954 called A Look into the Future. So this is before he is the national leader that everyone understands him to be, fast forward to 1964, so 10 years later, where he says, now is a great time to be alive. We struggle, and as we struggle, we do that knowing that we have cosmic companionship. It is a marvelous time to be alive. And he's saying that in 1954. So that's Brown v. Board, you know, where they're desegregating schools. And one would think, is this a great time to be alive? This is terrible. People are, you know, spitting on Black children. People don't want their kids to be next to Black students. And he's coming with this optimism. And I carry that same optimism because even as things are being rolled back, there are at least 4 pieces of legislation in our legislative body on the Hill that can be enacted. We have the Voting Rights Act, named for our newest ancestor, John Lewis. We also have the George Floyd police reform bill that's before them. We also have HR 40, the reparations study bill that's before them, and also the US Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation Commission bill, that resolution that Congresswoman Barbara Lee has put forward. So we also have before us 4 legislative opportunities to enact some semblance of not only racial equity, but also a sort of fortification of the civil rights movement efforts in law, you know, because ultimately part of what we're dealing with is that a lot of these things that we take for granted as a part of the civil rights movement weren't just laws, they were also Supreme Court decisions. And as you know, the Supreme Court decision is not law. It's an enforcement mechanism. And part of why there are all of these in arounds the Supreme Court is because you need legislators to enact laws that create policies and laws to go by to make sure that those things are systemic, not just, you know, the outcome of a Supreme Court decision.
And I want to just add a couple of things. I love the idea of being optimistic about it because, you know, on the 6th, there was an insurrection. And so it's like this hover of dark cloud of white supremacy that evades around us and is around us in the political world, just because of the Trump era or whatnot. And so when we follow that post-Trump era, we have to really look at this idea of being optimistic through this lens of healing. And so healing comes in different forms. It comes in different fashions, not just through the conversations, but I know like with us, with Counsel the Contract, and we're offering like alternatives to incarceration, right? So we're looking at music, we're looking at art, we're looking at fashion, we're looking at politics, we're looking at legislation, all these different ways of our therapy, of different outlets of healing. And I think that that's a key thing that we want to look at is like healing, it surpasses just that conversation. And there are actual tangibles that we want to tap into.
And I want you all to talk about some of those tangibles, because I know, Dr. Hunter, you are involved with a group of folks who are working with the legislative body to make sure some of the language and some of the scholarship is built into what is being looked at. And then also, Brother Green, I know you at the local level are getting more involved in the political landscape in your own way. So if Dr. Hunter, if you can talk about some of the pieces that you're involved with, and then, Brother Green, if you could talk about some of the things you're doing legislatively to hit the ground.
A couple of things in partnership with USA Today over 2021, for 6 months, I either provided a digital column that tried to do what we call reparations explained, to try to make reparations make sense in small chunks for people who are often led to believe that reparations is a kind of like gotcha or, you know, blame game. And one thing that I think is really important is to understand that the word is reparations intentionally. So the root of it, of course, is repair. And repair, the I occurs in that version because it's an individual level word. The word reparations takes the I and moves it to the TIONS because that's about a collective responsibility. Reparations is about making the government responsible and accountable for what it authorized and sanctioned. So it's really getting back to understanding that when people are asking or demanding or requesting reparations, what they're actually doing is trying to make the US government accountable for what it constitutionalized, legalized, and sanctioned. And when we get into individual level argumentation, it is a distraction from holding that same government accountable for what it legalized, constitutionalized, and sanctioned. We also, as a part of the USA Today network, then mapped all of the reparations commitments, commissions, announcements across the United States, which can be found on their website as well under the Repairing America Project, led by Eileen Rivers, the editor there. Another thing that I've been working really hard on, and Christian has been helping me a lot with this, is that we don't just want the U.S. Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Commission to just be just another commission, where people get together in a room where the public doesn't know what's going on, and maybe they issue a report. One of the things that was important to me when I helped draft that resolution and drafting any accompanying legislation and enacting legislation is the creation of what I refer to as the Archives for Racial and Cultural Healing, or ARCHES. The idea is to create a digital library educational resource that's publicly accessible from anywhere in the world, that contains not only past information like slave manumission records, which are deteriorating in the Library of Congress, but also local information. So deeds, leases, photographs, news reports, photographs from block parties, information from residents, so that we actually have a resource that our kids from K through 12 can access when they want to do reports about Black history or about American history, that's unfiltered and untainted by ideas of trying to hide what has happened. As we learned with Tulsa, many people believe that never happened because there wasn't proper documentation of it. And now that we know that it happened and that there's a commission, we who are not in Tulsa have no way of really accessing that information and using it for whatever educational purposes we want to use it for. So another initiative is creating archives for racial and cultural healing that are established at major universities and community colleges across the country that also simultaneously help close the digital divide, which we know is racialized and classed. So having a digital repository of accountability is important in and of itself, but having one that's a public good, I think just pays dividends into the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I'll piggyback on the education part and how we are educating through policy locally. I'm reminded of the picture that's even in the background of you, Otis. I believe that's Rodney King. And so we're dealing with police brutality still out here in the Antelope Valley and all across the country, really. As we saw with George Floyd, and we saw out here with Robert Fuller, Michael Thomas. And so what we're trying to do on a local level is really implement use of force policies on in the schools. We've initiated this Free Police Schools campaign across LA County, specifically from Long Beach to Pomona to Antelope Valley. And we've been working together to try to figure out what does it really look like for students to go to school, to get educated in 2022 without police or without fear, without intimidation. How do we really heal for our students that we have come from a generational systemic world of trauma, and how do we introduce this idea of true freedom and true liberation? And so what we've been doing is really looking at community-based programming, community-based partnerships. We've implemented this idea of a Freedom Art Squad, reimagining care, reimagining freedom or liberation through art. We've doing after school programs, block parties. We're really pushing for this idea of universal basic income and trying to make sure that we really tackle this poverty as well. And so, for our single mothers, I'm a former foster youth, and so system impacted youth as well. And so looking at the demographics, looking at all these different, these groups that have been racially traumatized, how do we implement policy within those different areas? And the USTRHT has given us this framework to really talk about it and bring this to the forefront so that we can, at the end of the day, heal.
Thank you both for that. I really appreciate, what you've, given to us today. And, I know that hopefully the folks who get a chance to see this will get a chance to, dig a little bit more into the work you're doing, and also, really kind of ask some of the questions that might, help further that work. But before we end this, I want to make sure you all give us the information about the day of observation that you all are going to be participating in. Tell us the name of the event and where people could potentially go to be a part of it.
It'll be Tuesday, January 18th. There's a full slate of national events happening. It can be located on healourcommunities.org. Many of them are hosted by the Kellogg Foundation. They'll be doing actually a series of keynotes featuring one of them is Heather McGhee, who wrote a New York Times bestseller last year, The Sum of Us. She also happens to be the daughter of Dr. Gail Christopher, the visionary behind Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation. They also have a panel featuring Kerry Washington, also known as Olivia Pope for folks who know of Scandal. And then we have a culminating panel that will feature Representative Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, Dr. Gail Christopher, and Dr. Ron Daniels from the HR 40 Reparations Bill Coalition. And that'll be a panel that I'm moderating, and that'll be 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time, and that'll be on Facebook Live through Representative Lee's office. So it'll be a full day of events everywhere, lighthouses everywhere on the topic of racial healing, and a culminating event at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, p.m.
I want to thank you both for being a blessing. Dr. Hunter, I'm our deepest condolences to you in the loss of your father. But I want to say to you, you are a gift to us, and we appreciate that you continue to, just be present for us. And doing the work that I know your father is very proud of. And Brother Green, thank you so much as well for, getting involved and really, putting in our communities things that we can see and touch and that are tangible to us. Those are very necessary. So thank you both for your time today. I really appreciate you both. And like the piece says, keep your head to the sky.
Thank you, Otis, for providing this time and this forum, and for what you do to put a light on the work that many people know academics are doing, but they don't always know what we're up to. So we really appreciate that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that Christian is also the pride and joy of the master's and BA program in African American Studies, and also a sociology graduate at UCLA. Triple Bruin time, double Bruin time. So he also, to me, represents the best of our students, and also why we all go and teach these classes, because we want people to become what he's becoming and to lean into all of that information that they absorb and make the world better. And he's doing that. So I'd be remiss if I didn't also just thank and provide gratitude to both of you for what you both represent, and what this opportunity for us to come together also represents for me.
Well, throughout this whole process, it was hard for me not to say Dr. Green, because I know it's coming. I know it's coming, and I can't wait for it.
There you go.
Well, please, both of you, take care of yourselves. You're very necessary to us, our full community, and our society. So we really appreciate this time. Thank you.